Hello, everybody, and welcome to Nature Source Care. My name is Dr. Funda Goldman. I'm a naturopathic physician, and today I was going to talk about the medicinal benefits of the hibiscus flower. This is part of my kitchen pharmacy series where I discuss different common foods that are often in the grocery store or pantry or refrigerator, and how you can use them medicinally. So let's take a look here. The information presented here is for educational purposes only and should not be considered medical advice. For any symptoms that persist or worsen, please consult with a qualified medical professional. It's always best to determine the root cause of any disease and to develop a comprehensive treatment plan. And while botanical medicine or nutritional remedies can be effective, they may not be appropriate for everyone or as a single therapy, so keep that in mind. Also, the two most common side effects of any plant-based medicine are digestive upset and skin itching, so that's also important because you never know if you're trying something new. If you're interested in this kind of content, you can find similar videos in my different playlist, the botanical medicine playlist, nutrition playlist, and kitchen pharmacy playlist. Also, the information presented here is based on my book, Drink to Your Health, Medicinal Teas, Juices, and Milks from Around the World. And copies are available on Amazon if you want to pick up one. The reason why I spent time writing that book is that it integrates nutrition from three different paradigms of medicine. So, Ayurveda, traditional Indian medicine, naturopathic medicine, or you could think of that as traditional natural medicine, and then the Western modern paradigm. Because as a practitioner, I've read quite a few nutrition books and botanical books and that sort of thing, botanical medicine books, but very few of them actually integrate different paradigms of medicine. They're usually like one or the other. So I thought this is sort of like a more of an integrative paradigm, or use or integrating different paradigms in one place so that you can cross-reference and that sort of thing. So anyway, this course again is part of my kitchen pharmacy series, but basically each channel or each playlist on my channel is a different course. So like I have an Ayurveda or traditional Indian medicine playlist, and I have a marmotherapy playlist, which is basically Ayurvedic acupressure. And I've taught all of the marma points on the playlist. So if that's interesting to you, you can learn those. Yoga and meditation, homeopathy, Bach flower remedies, which is a subset of homeopathy, nutrition, botanical medicine, hydrotherapy, or the therapeutic use of water, body care, and then cleansing mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. So again, I try to put a lot out there on the channel that's helpful to people and on these different sort of in these different sort of topics and modalities. Okay, so hibiscus, the part of the flower or part of the plant that's used is the flowers or the petals specifically, and the infusion method is the one that's used that's best used with flower petals. If you're not familiar with different ways of making medicinal teas, that's actually important. I have a whole video on the different methods for making medicinal teas because, again, depending on the part of the plant, some methods may work better than others. So, like since we're working with petals here for the most part with this plant, petals are usually pretty delicate, so you don't need to like really super boil them for long periods of time. But if you're working with other plants that are tough, all over, as the general plant is, some plants are like that, or certain parts of the plant, like bark and roots and things like that. Sometimes you have to use like a decoction method instead of an infusion method because you need to actively boil those parts for a while to release the medicinal properties into the tea. Okay. So then I have listed here Ayurveda. So these are so Ayurveda is basically an energetic paradigm. So this you don't need to know this necessarily to get the benefits of hibiscus, but if you're a deeper student of Ayurveda or learning Ayurveda, this may be helpful to you. So hibiscus is a plant. Its energy is to increase vata, decrease pitta, and decrease kapha. So if you're not familiar with these terms, vata is loosely translated as wind, which is a cold, dry energy. Pitta is loosely translated as fire, so any kind of heat or inflammation is related to pitta. And then kapha is an earth energy, so anything that's cold and wet and sort of slimy or heavy and that sort of thing is a kapha energy, okay? So these petals on this flower of the hibiscus plant increases vata, so it increases cold, dry energy. Okay, which may be helpful because if you're very hot, you want to cool things down. Or if things are very wet and sticky and heavy, you want to dry things up and lighten them up. Okay. But if you're already cold and dry, if you're a vata type of person, if you know that about yourself, or if you're in a vata windy type of state, this may not be your best option at the time. Okay. So also as part of the Ayurvedic paradigm, the properties of the hibiscus flower are astringent and sweet as sort of an initial taste. And it's cooling in nature, which again I mentioned, like it decreases pitta, decreases fire, heat, inflammation. And then it has a sweet after effect, which again, if you're a student of Ayurveda, this makes sense. And if you're not, don't worry about it too much. So then if we look at the different systems of the body and where hibiscus has effects that are helpful, so the cardiovascular system. So in two different ways. One, the petals of the hibiscus flower are actually a diuretic, so they can help to release extra water on the body. Okay, this will help potentially with hypertension, depending on what's causing the hypertension, and also edema or swelling of tissues. Okay. The other thing is that a lot of the hibiscus flowers are like brightly colored, like pink and red and yellow, and I think I've seen orange too. So all those colors are actually helpful medically because that usually means when a plant has a lot of bright red and yellow and that sort of thing, orange, it has a lot of what they call bioflavonoids. Bioflavonoids are helpful with increasing the tone of the vasculature, the blood vessels of the body. Okay, so if somebody has like spider veins or varicose veins or that sort of thing, again, the bioflavonoids from the petals of the brightly colored flowers can be helpful with that. Okay. The respiratory system, hibiscus can be helpful with coughing, specifically more productive cough. So when you have a mucusy kind of cough, that sort of thing, because the mucus part is the kapha, that's the earth, that's the cold, wet. And so by giving this drying herb, of the flower petals, you will help to dry up the mucus there. Okay. Hibiscus flowers also help to improve the complexion, which might sound kind of funny. But this works because part of one of the other effects of hibiscus is to cleanse the body. Okay. And so when you cleanse the body, naturally the skin clears up because the skin is often like a window to the inside physiology of somebody. Also, when you clear up toxins, then they don't, because a lot of actually skin conditions are actually, from a naturopathic point of view, it's related often to toxins in the body. So, and it's just because the body's not able to clear the toxins in a very efficient way. So then they have to go somewhere. So then they end up on the skin is inflammation or dryness or acne or that sort of thing. So if we start to clear some of these toxins out of the body through something like, hibiscus flowers, then the complexion can be improved. Also, it's known in Ayurveda, traditional Indian medicine, that hibiscus helps with hair growth. Now, again, you have to keep this in context, right? You have to do an integrative plan. If you're working with patients, you have to work on an integrative plan. So sometimes the hair growth, if somebody's having trouble growing hair, sometimes it's a hormonal issue, which this won't necessarily help. Sometimes people aren't getting proper nutrition, in which case this may only do so much. Or sometimes people are going through stress, which is basically relates to a hormonal condition. Yeah. So this can be helpful, especially if somebody has like inflammation of some kind, because again, this is a cooling plant. And often when people are losing hair, from an Ayurvedic standpoint, that's because the pitta is too high. You can almost think of it as like heat burning off the top, your hair off the top of your head, that sort of thing. You can think about it that way. Um, so again, it can be helpful, but again, I wouldn't. Usually, I don't think I've ever done hibiscus alone as part of a hair growth treatment. I usually use other things because most people, again, need proper nutrition and to decrease stress for most people. It helps. Hibiscus helps the genitourinary system. because it helps with painful urination, again, decreasing pitta, fire, heat, inflammation, cystitis, which is, inflammation of the bladder. And then again, it's a diuretic. So by being a diuretic and helping, fluids pass through the kidneys and bladder and that sort of thing, it's actually a pretty good detoxifier, especially for the kidneys, but for the whole body. Um, and then that's also part of the general feature of or effect of hibiscus is it's a detoxifier, especially for the kidneys. But it can also help with fever. So, if you happen to have hibiscus around, and again, if you're growing hibiscus flowers in the yard, you want to be careful about using them because, again, if you're using any sort of chemicals or pesticides and growing those plants or anything like that, you usually don't want to use those for medicinal purposes. Um, but if you have access to, organically grown fresh hibiscus flowers, you could use them. Um, and also to know that there are a bunch of different species of hibiscus. A lot of them are derived for, ornamental purposes, not medicinal purposes. So, yeah, just keep that in mind as well. But because it's a cooling plant, you can actually use hibiscus to help with fever potentially. And actually, hibiscus has this sort of like, it's a cross between like a fruity, citrusy type of taste. Most people like it. It has like a more pleasant taste than a lot of medicinal herbal teas, because some, frankly, herbal teas taste like sticks in mud. This is one of the tastier ones, and usually if you get hibiscus flowers like from the health food store or something like that, like in the bulk section, or you can get hibiscus tea in bags and stuff like that. Um, Actually, a lot of kids like the flavor of this because it's sort of like a fruity, and it's got the nice colors and everything. So if you add a little bit of like natural sweetener, this can be a nice drink, especially in like summertime when it's hot. Um, and then again, if you have it around, you can use it for fevers and stuff like that. Again, you also want to treat the underlying cause of the fever, but it can be helpful because it's cooling in nature. The other thing about hibiscus is it has some special properties, and these are derived again from Ayurveda, traditional Indian medicine. So again, the kidneys are related to first and second chakra disorder. So chakras, there's a most people, if you're familiar with it at all, there's a seven chakra system that go from the base of the spine up to the top of the head, and so the seven chakras along the spine, and each chakra is related to different mental, spiritual, emotional, and physical conditions. Okay. So the first and second chakras, the first chakras are related to grounding and feeling connected to home and family and community. It's kind of, again, your base chakra. So it's just feeling grounded in the world. The second chakra is related to things like creativity, like literally creativity, like artistic ability and stuff like that. But also other creativity, like procreation and having children and that sort of thing. So the sexual energy as well. And so, and then again, the organs and tissues that are related to those things. So, like the sexual system, men and women, and then also like the genital urinary tract. That's all first and second chakra stuff. Okay. The other thing about hibiscus is that it actually helps to enhance attention, especially if you're looking to get into deeper forms of meditation. And it can also help to potentize mantras. So, usually Sanskrit mantras that people use as part of their spiritual practice, it can help to potentize those. And then, as I mentioned, it does a physical cleansing, but it can also do a spiritual cleansing as well, because it's considered to be usually a sattvic type of herb and that sort of thing, which is a more spiritual orientation to things and perspective and way in life and that sort of thing. Okay, so that is hibiscus, and again, it's a very beautiful flower. You can see the photos I took in this talk. Yeah, I just it was kind of funny. I was at the store the other day, and they were selling some hibiscus flowers outside the door. I took these photos, and then I was like, oh, maybe it's time to talk to people about the medicinal features of hibiscus as well. So, so anyway, I took it that way. Okay, so as always, thanks so much for stopping by, listening to one of my talks. I appreciate all your support for my work on the channel. Again, this presentation is based on my book, Drink Your Health, Medicinal Teas, Juices, and Milks from Around the World. You can always pick up a copy from on Amazon if you want. I do have another YouTube channel on Vedic Astrology or Ancient Indian Astrology. The name of that channel is Light Vedic Astrology. And then, as I mentioned, the photography in this talk, and most of the photography in my talks on this channel are my own photography. And so if you're interested in photography and art, that sort of thing, I have an online photography gallery and gift shop, and the link is listed here if you ever want to check that out. All right, so as always, take good care, and until the next one, namaste.